Welcome to Profiles in Eccentricity, a show about weirdos. With your hosts, John Fahey, Aaron Peter, and Matt Brousseau.
Hello, folks. Welcome to Profiles in Eccentricity. It's a show about weirdos, doggone it. My name is John Boy. It is John Boy time, I'm afraid. My name is John Francis Fahey. I am your host. Joining me, as ever, is perhaps the best-looking man on the planet. It is Aaron Joseph Pita.
You said it, man. Wow. It is John Boy time because the little hand is touching the big hand.
That sounds very inappropriate.
Well, considering how we finished the last episode, that sounds incredibly inappropriate.
Sounds very inappropriate.
Takes a licking and it keeps on ticking.
That's even worse.
I don't get it.
It keeps getting worse.
I don't.
Little hand with the big hand.
I'm just a man who loves clocks.
But you're saying. To your right, my left, the Cape Cod Gabe God, and he's the Frenchman henchman is handsome Matt Brousseau.
Hello, hi, thank you. That's very, very good.
Little hand, big hand, Jesus.
What?
It just sounds like a NAMBLA parade.
Yeah, that's the point, man.
I mean, they get a parade. I'm not saying
They get one? Like nationally?
Dude, everyone gets a parade.
Yes.
That's not true anymore.
I'm not going to
I don't
go.
get a parade.
I don't call it Pride Month when I go there, and
It's a thing where
also I don't go there.
if
Shame month.
It's a shame.
NAMBLA was the thing, like before the internet, NAMBLA could just stomp through the streets being like, I don't care if it's not politically correct. And then after the internet, you'd be like, oh, this would be like the fucking.
That's how they found each other. When the internet is like, that's how
Stomping.
they find each other. Like, fuck parades. Let's just do it here.
Fuck parades.
Yeah, but then
What
they were
about-
like, we got to go underground, like fucking Morpheus and shit.
Power in numbers.
But yeah, honestly, if it was still around, it'd either be attacked in a very a violence fest, or it would be like the gathering of the Juggalos, where
Yeah.
everybody's there.
Everyone's accepted.
Everybody's a
It's
vice.
about family.
Everybody's a vice reporter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all a vice reporter or FBI agent. All of the juggalos now are just other people.
But yeah, it's kind of like the neo-Nazi hot tub party. Mm-hmm. It's like there's more ATF agents than actual biker gang guys.
At some point, they're like, "What
What are we doing here?
We should just let's have a party."
Turns out the
like
were the friends we made along the way.
Dude, yeah, it's like that story was the thing. Where it's like, oh, we got raided by
Us.
and they don't understand that we're here, and we're like, yeah, there's like one or two people that aren't cops. Amazing story.
Yeah, that was a good episode.
Check out Neo-Nazi Hot Tub Party, guys.
Classic.
If you want a real good time. But Matt, we are returning to do the second part of this wily character who is a bit of a huckster, and
Well, if one of those planes worked, he might not be.
I mean, one.
If one of those baseball leagues worked, he might not be.
that was the huckster side. I would say in aviation, he actually did have firm achievements and successes.
Sure, yes. No, he definitely pushed it forward.
Yes, and then also
into a barn.
No, they didn't crash into it. They missed the barn and then hit a telephone pole.
Got it.
So in a quick recap, we saw him kind of laud himself through baseball, and then just totally fail as a pitcher, and then get into aviation, and then he also has he did a novel before that they said was atrocious.
Well, one person did at the time, and
A lot of people that couldn't.
It did have 9 editions. It was 9 editions. It did do some numbers back then.
Yeah, I don't think there was a lot of books though.
Well, there was 180 of those utopian novels over the course of 20 years.
God almighty,
That's a number of books.
That is, yeah.
Early sci-fi.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
That's very much the case. So,
absolutely.
So he was having a thing of this on the sci-fi tip. He was saying that basically these sage elders were kind of the super heroic superiors that were showing the mortal man the way life could be better. And then when he got into aviation, he started doing a magazine about it, and it was kind of fan fiction. And then he was also going like, oh, in the future there will be again a superior people that live in the sky. And the people like me and you will be, toiling and
well, and yes, and hopefully these great geniuses can
right. And then so
bring us some good.
He has actual real hard publicity successes in aviation with his first plane, his second plane. Not so much, and then he's basically getting out of it, and he returns to writing. Is where we left off.
Yes, so much in the way of baseball. So in 1904, he gets out of baseball in 1908, 1909. 1904, just a few years, maybe reading the tea leaves and such, he writes that book, Born Again. And as he's failing in aviation in the 20s, he starts writing again. And in 1922, he holds a press conference, multiple press conferences, talking about his discovery of the, quote, laws of penetrability. And that anybody who maintained Lawson poise...
Lawson poise?
Yes.
Poise?
Yes. If they maintained this, they could live for 200 years.
Oh.
And these are from...
And you need to be penetrable. So
Yeah.
this posture is either on your back, legs spread eagle, bent over a dining room.
And he's going to give you like a little spine seed.
That's right.
Yeah. Why'd you wink at me over that?
It's a
Okay.
starter kit.
Oh, okay.
See how I'm doing it back to you
Yeah,
now?
see what the seed. Oh, God.
Try it
that's
before you buy.
Now, Lawson, he claims that his understanding of these ideas, it goes back to his father's attempt to build a perpetual motion machine. And
My
Lawson,
dad was an idiot. I'm not.
Lawson, as a child, he says that when that fails, when he sees this fail, Lawson himself decides to focus on the idea of perpetual movement, not motion, movement.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I am not kidding you.
Okay.
Perpetual movement.
Motion is done. It's all movement.
There's no more motion pictures. It's all movement
Yeah,
pictures.
movement pictures. Yeah. So true.
He says, as a child, struck with measles and forced to stay in bed with these measles, he would see the dust in the air and he realized he could push it away with pressure and then pull it in with suction.
Probably good for his lungs while he's recovering from measles.
Measles.
Yeah. And so in the 1920s, he returns to these ideas of pressure
It's sucking.
and suction. And
So suction,
Penetrating.
penetration,
yes,
pressure. Got it.
and close, not quite yet. He writes an autobiography in 1934. So we're jumping ahead a little bit, but we'll jump back. And in his autobiography in 1934, he clarifies some ideas. He writes, so he quickly forgot about his, I don't know what that says.
Say that.
No, it says Roper, but that's a terrible autocorrect. His something to losses. He quickly forgot about his...
Ratio.
Sure, ratio to loss. And buries himself for 3 years in a work of love without pay, that future generations will be benefited by his labors. During those 3 years of super labor, as he calls it, Lawson lifted the entire science of physics out of the quicksands of theory and mysticism and placed it upon the solid foundation of absolute fact and reality.
Oh, thank God.
Yes. And from that,
What year did he say he did this?
he writes that in 1934, but he says from that, which he started in 1920, in 1923 we get his first major work on these new discoveries of his. The first was called originally Lawson Poise and How to Grow Young, and then when it was reissued, it was called Man Life.
I love man life.
Yes.
This guy's saying I lifted physics out of the quicksand of theory.
Yes, and mysticism.
And I placed it on the firm ground of hard scientific
And
fact.
cabbage patches.
Reality. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, much like a plane out of fuel.
I put it on the terra firma of plowed field.
Yeah.
I blew the wheels off of science.
And Einstein would be like, "What are you talking? I've done the special relativity by now. Like,
Yeah, but does he have a plane that didn't
does
fly?
he have a plane?
Does he have a aviation? No, he doesn't have an aviation magazine.
Aircraft.
Do you know some of these fucking books?
Fly.
The follow-up to Man Life, of course, would be called Creation. And he writes, in Man Life, I believe, or Creation. There's no greater load of misconception that science has ever had to shoulder than the unprovable theory that somewhere, somehow, and in some shape there exists a substance called energy that causes movement. No such thing exists anywhere, and science should expunge his spelling, the fallacy immediately. Probably just meant to say expunge, but
Yeah.
that was-
He invented expude.
yes.
I think you meant to say expooge.
You know, I expooge nightly.
Yeah, but it's not energy though.
No,
It's just movement.
You're catching on.
It's honestly pleasure.
John, pleasure has nothing to do with
It's just
movement
part of being in a man's life.
and creation.
This is man life, baby.
As someone with a series of kids through sperm donation, I know a little bit something about expuging and creation.
Yes.
Yeah, and man life.
With zero energy because it's fake.
Yeah.
Energy is fake.
And he did it real lazy like too. Zero energy.
I guess. The guy that says movement is everything
Yes.
doesn't believe in energy.
Yes. Well, because, John, instead of energy,
Oh,
the essential ingredients to life are movement and penetrability.
I see.
Every substance on Earth has different densities. Therefore, with movement, substances are penetrated. They are penetrated through pressure, the density, and through this pressure, suction results. Therefore,
Energy.
according to him, penetrability makes movement possible, but suction and pressure cause things to move.
Oh, it's air magnetism,
Kind of, yeah.
right?
Yes.
That's what he's doing.
Yeah.
Which it doesn't involve energy at all.
No. This is movement and penetrability,
Yeah.
not energy.
Can he get through it?
Because the
Can he
world
get-
is made up of dicks, pussies, and assholes. Some people are dicks. Some people, I mean, come on.
It's a Carlin bit.
How annoying. What a dildo.
No, I mean, depending on how dense it is, it's
I
a
mean,
penetrable
again,
object.
is it
Or it
silicone?
penetrates me if I'm not dense enough.
It's going to penetrate us. It's
All right, so hit me. Next.
Each substance on Earth, and I'm not quoting them, each substance on Earth is, in fact, a combination of substances, right? And therefore, these substances, as they are moving, are in fact dragged, zipping back and forth between substances. They're pulled into one. You know, depending on density, the lower density is pulled into the higher density, and or no, the opposite, I suppose. And they keep switching around. They're zigging and zagging between each of them. But as all of this is happening, it's happening inside objects of an even different density. And so, let's say, for instance, inside of us, there are things penetrating or being sucked or pushed out, and while all this is happening, we are on an Earth where the same thing is happening.
Uh-huh.
And so therefore, all of this movement is called zig, zag, and swirl. Because of the smaller things are zigging and zagging inside of objects that are swirling around.
very technical stuff.
Yeah.
And that brings us to Lawson poise. He would eventually call it equivaripoise.
Okay.
That would be his thoughtful
it?
name
Spell
for it. Equivaripoise. Equivaripoise.
Is there any, like, is it something, like, what is that? Latin.
Equal and variable.
Yeah, so bullshit.
Yeah, bullshit.
Well, so in a system of balance, much like what you want a body to be in, using pressure and the suction terminal, that in, that out, that place where things are being forced in and being...
Expuged out.
yes. So for the human body, the heart is the suction terminal.
I don't know about that.
Well, I mean, obviously you don't know anything about Lawson.
I got a few suction terminals myself.
It's the suck hub.
Yes, I mean, in that sense.
Basically, the heart is will act as a suck hub for pushing and sucking.
Tickling.
He
and
wrote this down.
Oh, he published it.
Yeah. And it was lauded.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's
This
Lawson.
man is a firm genius.
It was Lawson.
He's placed theoretical nonsense on the firm ground.
Yes, there's
The
like,
terra firma. I'm just doing.
there's like a quack magazine that is like, this is the man with the ideas.
Yeah.
Lawson has a new one.
Lawson Publishing presents a review of Lawson's new manifesto. This is a man's life. He's going for it, folks.
He's going for pure creation.
It's all been kind of poking fucking...
And in the 40th quatrain...
popsicle sticks in the air and saying we discovered lightning. This man, he's... The heart...
Lightning doesn't exist.
The heart is the suck hub. Do you understand? I just made a Orson Welles for no reason.
Yeah, I know, but it makes sense.
Once you're on an Orson Welles thing,
Yeah, it really
Hard
is
to get
fun.
off, yeah.
It really
if
is
anybody is just saying anything with that much confidence,
Yes.
it's hard not to turn them into Orson Welles. He's like, I've known everything. I made the best motion picture of all time, and I was 25.
It takes confident, humble men like me.
like me to not be annoyed around Woody Allen.
Yeah.
Why doesn't he do what I do?
But yeah, what's he doing with all that psychiatry, self-examination? He's putting me out.
What a child he is.
Yeah.
I have to listen to our Patreon to hear that. So, in a system of balance, using pressure and the suction terminal, the human body, the heart is the suction terminal. Of course, the asshole is...
The expungement terminal?
These great exposure.
Yeah. The Great Expuse. Great movie.
Birth, aging, growth, maturity, death are all dependent on the internal and external factors on the body.
Okay.
Factors like diet, exercise, and hygiene can prolong the equivariepause of the human, and they could potentially live for 200 years
Oh my
if they
God.
find the right balance.
Right.
Yeah, you got to balance the suction of
Yeah,
the
you
heart
do. I mean,
with the
obviously, yeah.
Expungement of the ass.
If you get blown, you probably should blow somebody.
And you should get in that shower where we're pissing in the
That's
reservoir.
right.
So
If you piss in the shower, you get in the piss
That's
shower.
your perpetual
Well,
motion machine right there.
that's the pushing,
Piss
and then the golden shower devourer
yes.
Suction.
is the suction.
the suction. That's
Thank you,
right.
Aaron.
It's
That's
a
very
perfect perpetual movement machine.
And so,
good. And also his dad, perpetual motion machine.
yeah, but he failed at
He
it.
goes like, listen, man. He goes, here's what I'm going to do.
You're
I'm going to
afraid
take
of-
rags and make them into carpets. And then the carpets will eventually become rags. And it will fuel new carpets.
Do you see? It's genius.
It's perpetual motion. It's kind of on a Little Rascals kind of level. But isn't that perpetual motion?
It's like building a sailboat and putting a fan behind it to blow you forward.
Yeah, reduce.
But a rag carpet will become rags quicker than a normal carpet, so it's
Reduce, reuse.
rag cycle.
Yeah, rag cycle.
I thought the rag was a cycle.
It's not even the fucking Great Depression yet. Rags, baby. There's money in rags.
No, but regular life back then was a Great Depression.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's nice.
A carpet was a luxury.
It's 1870.
Even if it was made of oil rags.
Yeah, it's 1870 something.
yeah.
Someone's like, a carpet, what is that for?
I'm sorry, I'm
to
not-
cover the dirt in your house.
I'm not trying to go backwards. Keep pushing us forward.
So here's the beauty of it, is that everything living, and a lot of things are living, is subject to equivariepause.
Yeah.
Molecules, the things molecules turn into, that other thing that becomes, everything.
Stuff.
Yeah, even the earth.
Oh,
The earth is stuff.
it can get penetrated.
The center of the earth is the suction terminal.
Clearly.
Things going in come from the North Pole, like the Northern Lights. The Northern Lights are the act of things being brought into the earth. Cosmic debris is what the earth feeds on.
Right.
Yeah, like Galactus.
Yeah.
Very true.
And they come into the earth and they are processed by the earth. And then the South Pole
Say it.
is where the earth shits. And the Southern Lights are proof of that.
That's right.
Bet you didn't know your South Pole could do this. It's Chair and Itty. If anybody wants to watch the Seth Rogen.
More like Antarctica. This guy's one of the dumbest motherfuckers.
I'm one of the dumbest motherfuckers.
One of the dumbest motherfuckers. But, I mean, doesn't that make sense?
Yeah.
Why would there be Southern Lights unless there was, like, shit coming out.
Yeah, nobody likes the lights down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't talk about those.
Like anytime someone gets close to the southern lights, they just get shot into space. Wait a minute.
Woo!
Yeah, they go, woo.
Okay.
Every time, this is what he wrote. Every time an earthquake takes place, it is mournful evidence of the fact that external pressure has made another encroachment upon the structure of Earth and is gradually gaining the mastery of Earth's power of suction. It shows that Earth is no longer expanding or growing as it did in its youthful state, but is gradually settling down before age.
So there's an apocalyptic level.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's going into
Yeah, there's nothing.
he's going into full bullshit.
Nothing similar with any sort of maniacs predicting dumb things about the future.
Yeah.
And the human body.
My flights are funded by flat earthers.
Yeah, I mean, right.
It's like you just live in Oklahoma.
No, Midwest.
That's the Midwest.
Is that Midwest?
Yeah.
Midwest.
It's like it's not south, but it's not Midwest.
Close to the beginning of the south.
It's dead in the middle.
I know, but it's also not the West.
It's called the Great Plains.
Try telling me, try telling me the Earth isn't flat.
Yeah.
I mean, have you seen it shit?
Every editorial in the Nebraskan.
Do you think that because they think the Earth is flat, that's why they think it's the young Earth? Hypothesis?
Yeah.
Because it's flat. And somehow Democrats are the pedos, right?
Yeah, I know. We would never jump to that conclusion. Like you just
That's
did.
really good. That's really good.
You like that?
It's pretty. It's honestly, yeah.
I don't like
I
it,
do
but-
like it. Yeah, I like it a lot.
But the thing is that because it is flat Earth, that's why it's flyover states. Because it is statutory. And you know,
the
You
law
gotta-
of
yeah,
penetrations,
Yeah, the law of
you gotta get to the Rockies or the
the
Appalachians.
Grand Tetons.
Yeah. You gotta get out of there.
But I don't know. I kind of like the flat ones.
Jesus. Also lies. I kind of like the flat one. What about the Titans?
I do love the Titans. The Teen Titans. Remember the Titans?
Remember the teen. So I want to say these ideas of Lawsonomy, as they'd be called,
Jesus.
and
Lawsonomics.
pressure, suction, all these things.
Penetrability.
These are merely parts of man life and creation.
Oh.
They are arguably the most important parts. I don't have time to get into all of the good ideas he has. I will quickly read a list of some of them.
Oh God.
How can I sign up if you're not going to get into it?
I'm Trevor Manlife.
We have some good stuff to get to.
I think.
That
Charles just was like, I'm into this man life.
some things he talks about in man life and creation. This is from Henry. His display of the falsity of the conventional understanding of vibration, including an account of how the bow squeezes a sound, a substance, from the violin strings. Discussions of the sex particles of magnets. The eye's power to draw in light by suction. The endless divisibility of matter. Explanations of capillary action. Thunderstorms, walking, eating, and defecating. The functioning of the heart and the circulation of blood in terms of suction pressure. Proofs that the moon was not once part of the earth, or that planets are part of the sun. Demonstrations that more of the earth's heat comes from the earth than is furnished by the sun. And that the speed of light is not a constant but depends on the variable force of suction and pressure terminals. And finally, Lawson's bold dispatching of atomic physics. If all the force within a single electron atom or molecule should be released at once, there would not be enough of it to move a hair on a flea's back.
Oh boy.
All of these are covered if you want to learn about
Man's
them.
life.
Yeah. And other epic conclusions from man life.
Splitting the atom is for pussy.
I took the nonsense of scientific theory and put it on terra firma.
Which is flat
And with the ordinary man.
and young.
God.
I like myself a young earther. Young earth? Ugh. Gross.
He calls
Barely caught any space debris yet.
Oh, dude. There's barely any grass on the plains.
he also goes on to attack a scientist of his time for saying that their knowledge is goose stepping and not fearless.
The Nazis had a lot of good scientists. I mean,
The goose
Oh
stepping.
my God. Another great quote.
they did. They had a lot of bad ones.
Yeah, but I mean, that.
You don't have to. You don't need to argue about this. Ooh.
No.
Don't stoop to my level.
No.
Don't dirty your boots down here.
No, it isn't an argument. It is not an argument.
Yeah. Because they were so good, the Americans took them.
That is
And
true.
the Russians.
But I would also say, even now, there's this attitude of people think that science wants to prove science.
It's the exact opposite.
Well, it's just the exact opposite. Like you wouldn't do that. Like you would always want to have a discovery, and prove something new. And then especially if it proves something that is, let's say, considered mystical in origin historically, scientists are very happy to indulge that.
Yeah.
And then, but when that theater was opened up to the Nazi level, with no moral restrictions, then it became very, 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 very destructive.
Yeah, and not science at all. Yeah.
No,
Right.
But then also because it was actual science, the American scientists were going like, okay, well, if this is the temperature where the human body it dies at boiling point with these incredibly cruel experiments, we're also not going to throw that away either, because it is just collection of data, even though you definitely feel like you need to take a shower.
There's only one on the plane.
Well, the second one's golden. First one.
But yeah, I think the accusation of goose stepping is inherently false.
Well, I mean, so much of the book is inherently false.
Oh, right,
So,
yeah.
He did no tests
Yeah.
for anything he claimed other than breathing dust when he had measles.
Yeah.
But I think this next quote.
Can I say one?
Oh,
one
absolutely,
thing?
absolutely.
Because it resonates so much with me with the goose stepping thing, and especially like the Christian right kind of thing, where they'll talk about dinosaurs and stuff like that, and they'll be like, then the people will be like, well, scientists say like fucking it wasn't Adam and Eve and all that stuff, and then they'll have a thing which they show in The Sopranos, like the born again guy goes, I think you'll find that those people have an agenda.
Yeah.
And like the scientist's agenda is like my dad reading the morning paper.
Yeah.
The agenda is, dude, I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
Right.
Like the scientific agenda to me is
find the truth.
Is as if not more absurd than the gay agenda. The gay agenda.
You mean the idea that science has one? Is
Yes!
absurd.
Right.
They have an agenda?
Yeah.
There certainly are scientists with agendas, but in general,
That's even if you believe in agenda.
But also,
I don't.
but there's a reason it's still gravity is still a theory because it's only based off of what they have studied and discovered.
Exactly.
And no one's saying this is the final answer. But this is the best answer we have right
there
now.
never will be a final.
It's all based on the best answer we have right now.
like no scientist is saying there's no way
Right.
there wasn't a Garden of Eden. They don't say it. They're like, well, there's no evidence yet.
Well, with some
But
people,
dude,
I
what
mean,
the fuck do I know?
there will be people who do that to sell a book.
Sure. But as a group,
Yeah.
they're all
but
just
they
like,
will say that woman was not made from a rib. They will say X.
it was
Y.
made from the midrib.
That's right. And it only comes around ever so often.
And we caught lightning in a bottle, baby.
Thank God.
Thank you.
Because those honeys...
Oh, you gotta have them.
With the
man.
buns.
The pickle. I don't know
Some
what
of them
that
have
is.
pickles.
Some of
And that's cool.
some have pickles now and it.
That's fine.
And that tastes good.
Yeah, and you should get a McFlurry and just
Give me a
shake it up.
Chicago dog, is what I say.
No.
So this is a year before publishing Man Life. Lawson, under the pseudonym Cy-Q Fonts. And Henry says, if he meant this to sound like sycophant, it is the only indication that he had a sense of humor in his entire life.
Yeah.
And maybe just someone else thought of it before and told him it. But Lawson wrote an autobiography of his life. I think it was called something like Lawson, the Inventor of the Airline. And he writes this in it. And, I mean, I guess I'm just beating a dead horse, but I think it's the fact that he wrote it down. If Lawson should die today, posterity will honor and glorify him as no other mortal because he has given mankind the true base from which to start an edifice of super knowledge of the universe and its laws. The birth of Lawson was the most momentous occurrence since the birth of mankind. His coming will establish the beginning of a new order in the development of man.
He's coming?
C-O-M-I-N-G.
Oh, cool.
No, it's not as cool, obviously, but it's not Peter North.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I hate this guy so much now.
And then in 1931, he publishes a new book called Direct Credits for Everybody.
Okay.
And it established, and it's based on 14 rules of economics that so remind you, in the 20s, right? He's getting out of aviation. He writes these books before he gets out of aviation. 1931, he's been out of aviation hard.
And the crash has happened.
Yes, and the new plane never was materialized. And he writes and publishes this book, Direct Credits for Everybody, in 1931. And this is what he writes. These are the 14 rules. Gold must be abolished as money and everybody prohibited from using it to pay for anything. That's one.
Amen.
Paper currency must be made the standard of exchange and issued in sufficient quantities for all purposes. 3. Interest and all other forms of payments for the use of money must be abolished and prohibited. 4. Control and supervision of money must be by the government, who will operate all banks and other financial institutions. Private banking must be prohibited. 5. All financial loans must be made by the government. Private loans and business transactions must be prohibited. Maybe that's something to do with this past. 6.
Yeah, maybe.
All credits must be issued by the government direct to everybody. 7. Everybody must be entitled to basic equal credits given by the government. 8. Everybody must perform actual service in return for credits. 9. Limited credits must be issued to everybody without security. 10. Credits must be issued for the upkeep and education of children up to 21 years of age to be voluntarily repaid by them if possible at some future and convenient time. 11. Credits must be issued to everybody past the age of 65 years of age for living expenses. 12. Charity must be abolished and justice takes its place. Credits must be issued to the sick and lame. Doctors, nurses, and practitioners will be paid by the government both with money and honors. They must treat all patients with equal consideration. 13. All controversies must be settled by courts appointed by the government, who will furnish lawyers for both sides. 14. Everybody must furnish sworn statement periodically showing the amount and character of wealth possessed and the manner of which it was obtained.
I like him a little more now.
It is a interesting turn.
Yeah. It's like, I'm out of money. You know what I think?
You know what I decided?
The government should give it all.
We're not going to do that no more. And he goes, you know what? We'll make it the law, son.
How long were you holding on to that?
You've been thinking about that one for 2 episodes?
No. But I mean, it is
Good.
It's borderline. What would you call it?
UBI, Universal Basic Income.
Yeah. But also everything in the hands of the government.
It's not everything.
The courts.
Courts is in the hands of the government,
Controversies. Distribution of the credits.
which it is already.
I mean. I wouldn't say. I mean, it sounds more like the Soviet structure, in my opinion.
No, not at all.
No.
No. I mean,
okay. Well, yeah, elaborate. Further ideas.
the government just, they work with the Fed. They just they determine the interest rate, and that determines how much money gets lent out at what time. If they lower it, then they're basically printing money. Abolish gold standard that happened in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
What was the next one down?
After the gold, paper currency must be
Paper currency.
standard.
Okay, got it. 3.
Interest in all forms of payment must, for the use of money, must be abolished and prohibited.
That's much more like Muslim world. There's you can't charge interest in certain Muslim countries.
Right.
But also biblical.
That's right. Nobody talks about that.
Oh yeah, nobody brings up the Bible anymore.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like everybody wants to talk about fucking 4 passages about gay shit and abortions,
Yeah.
but nobody wants to talk about not charging interest.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, I agree.
What else we got?
Control and supervision of money must be by the government. They all operate all banks and financial institutions.
There's a lot of benefit of the doubt delivered to the government,
Sure, yeah.
which is a corruptible institution. I'm sure you would agree.
As any, is it
absolutely.
an institution?
Yes.
Yeah, total control of money with the government, that's very top-down central economy, Chinese, Soviet shit.
Right. I mean, charity must be abolished and justice takes place.
Which is also, yeah.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, you have to believe in a fully just government
Justice?
for
Charity. I just want people getting arrested.
Well, no.
What are you saying?
No, the justice wouldn't be
What I think you're saying is that charity would not be needed if the government was efficient in the way it distributed funds.
Yeah, I mean, when Mitt Romney was running against Obama, one of the arguments he made was that, if we don't need welfare, it was the opposite. We don't need welfare. Charity will take its place.
That was also Ron Paul too.
And that is such. It was like, but you can't promise charity.
Right.
It makes sense, though, also kind of coming like the Mormon background.
Yeah, but you can't guarantee charity.
Oh, no, you absolutely cannot.
Right. And, charity, they can be like, nah, we don't give charity
to gay people. Right, yeah.
Right. Especially Cher and Eddie.
Yeah.
Those guys.
I bet you know your big brother can do this.
It's all up to Seth Rogen.
There's good and bad in there.
Yes.
There is.
Yes.
It's not bad. It does seem like it was probably born of financial desperation.
Yeah, that's right.
No, but you can see some of the things of his previous working with private financiers, maybe affecting his ideas a little bit.
Yeah, and also it is interesting if he wasn't really, a debauched drinker type.
Well, yeah, he's not a debauched drinker type, but if he didn't have already this these constant moves of overselling himself.
The narcissism is the real drug.
Yes, and so you go, would be a great idea if Bernie Sanders said it.
Sure.
That's a little bit different from the guy who said that
some people will be up and some people will be down.
Yeah.
That's like a thing where you go like, oh man, if you're starting there, it's basically like a grift from the get-go. Where you're like, are you a sky person?
Yeah.
Or a dirt person?
And that
Now that I'm a dirt person, I'd like to say that the government should make everybody...
Yeah. I'd really like these planes to stop taking off of my fields.
Yeah, and I'm obsessed with the idea of a great man. 9 years earlier, he writes...
You said the word super
Super knowledge, yeah.
Ultimate.
9 years earlier, he writes that humanity will mark his birth and death as
Can you imagine putting that shit fucking down?
I mean, it sounds fun. It sounds like a real fun thing to do. To imagine yourself that important.
Yeah.
You have to be insane, of course, but it sounds fun.
Yes, I think. I guess I wonder more about his origins. Where he needed that stuff to be true. Like maybe it was bad,
or it's just salesmanship.
Right.
Maybe it was a thing like.
It's like the L. Ron Hubbard was.
Yes, right.
If you tell a lie so big that no one will believe it's a lie, kind of thing. That's not L. Ron Hubbard, it's Hitler, but
I think it's Goebbels actually was that.
Yeah, that's probably correct. But if it's part of the hucksterism is be larger than life in certain ways, and it'll attract people who believe that kind of stuff, and they'll be your evangelists.
And not only that, I think when you do that, you let yourself off the hook a lot. Because you go, I call people to a higher ideal. And once they're called to that, oftentimes they come up with like real shit. Because they were called to a higher standard, even though
I've done nothing.
It was a lie.
Right.
But also like I'm off the hook now for the lie because I advanced to the society. Right. By demanding that they believe that.
Yeah, and I think part of that is I haven't failed. I just haven't succeeded yet.
Oh, yeah, totally.
It's around the corner. It's always...
Yeah.
So, after he writes this book, he then creates the Direct Credit Society using the motto, justice for everybody harms nobody.
Pretty good.
He goes on a speaking tour. He draws crowds of thousands. And mind you, so this is 1931. America's finances are not doing great. Depression era.
Oh, yeah.
He goes on a speaking tour. He draws crowds of thousands around the country, but mainly he stays in the Midwest. And thousands of people join his direct credit society. And working for free, they all dedicate themselves to what he calls a, quote, a non-political association fund primarily to eliminate pauperism. He would claim they had 500,000 followers in Michigan. There's no way to verify those figures at the time. At the time, it'd be 10% of the population in Michigan.
Right.
And now,
Could be.
so here's the thing. At this time, there's a lot of these guys. In the 30s, there is just a run on guys making these types of pronouncements and speeches and promoting these ideas. Huey Long was a huge one. But also, when Huey Long was making these speeches, he had already been the governor of Louisiana and a U.S. senator before he was assassinated in 1935.
Yeah.
Another one would be Father Coughlin.
Father.
Irish. Racist.
Was he?
Oh, yeah. So Father Coughlin was that guy that was making very similar types of speeches about how these financiers were destroying people. But then he would eventually, as he grew because he used the radio and not just driving around making speeches at towns, eventually got into the Jewish bankers and very anti-Semitic.
Oh.
And but he would have a following of millions of people to the point where FDR would had the government remove his radio show from the air.
Good God.
But Lawson outlasted both of those guys just by driving around and making his speeches. Not seemingly, there doesn't seem to be any indication that he was racist. He wanted everybody to work for free for the direct credit society.
The ultimate thing is just no paupers, right? So no poor.
Right.
And then he's also saying it's a credit system.
Mm-hmm.
So there's still some aspect of competition there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not dyed in the wool, Soviet communism or anything like that. But you could very much see that it would be accused of being that.
Of course. But
but also
they call him a Bolshevik at this point.
Right.
At that point, too, though, they were like fucking cheering on the goddamn bank robbers. So it was like,
Right.
What's the worst that's going to happen to him?
Now, Lawson would largely speak extemporaneously on his speeches, but the titles of his speeches do remain.
I'm one of the baddest motherfuckers.
And here's Elizabeth's. Finance is the bunk. Civilization is the stage of skinnery. Dr. Financier and his live corpse. The dictator is just around the corner. Democracy now has one foot in the grave. And another one. Peace, not while financiers rule the world. And
pretty anarchistic stuff, I would say.
And he would often mention this, what he said was a 10-year, 5-point plan, the Slickster Financiers. That's one of the many names he had for them. What else would he call them? He would call them also, the financiers, he called them gold worshippers, devils, parasites, wolves, swindlers, two-tailed monkeys, because the coats, slicksters, mastodon, second story, peewee, or the different types of slicksters. Theorists and donkeys were the people who followed the financiers.
No, those are Irish guys.
But here's the 5-point plan. And he said the first 3 had already been done. And this is early 1930. 1930 to 1930, late 1930s. Number 1, withdrawing most of the money from circulation. 2, imposing unemployment on a large percentage of the workforce, thereby reducing the wages of those still working and fostering jealousies and strife among the entire workforce. 3, revaluing gold, thus doubling the capacity of the financiers to make loans while having the income of the purchasing power of the real, quote, producers, people who did the work.
Right.
4 and 5, he said, were coming soon. Replacing the American form of government with a dictatorship. That's 4. 5, after eliminating all freedoms in educational institutions, creating a financial aristocracy to rule over ignorant, illiterate population with force.
Still an up and a down, baby.
And so now, were these his ideas, or did he steal them from the other people making these speeches?
Picking, you're grazing. You're taking.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds good.
And but
Very disappointing.
I mean,
After the
I don't know if there's no way for me to know if those were his ideas or he took them from it.
But you definitely know that it was a guy that was a carnival barker.
Yeah.
And it was
Right.
it was
skimmed through the Communist Manifesto, read the Protocols of the Elders of Zion,
Right.
and smashed some things together.
And it was like I can't
I
can't go too hard on it. And then also at the end of it, if it's successful, it has to have some fucking plateau that I can reign over everybody on in everything he's done in his life.
Right.
It's always about being above the other.
Right.
It's so fucked up. And like, just, taking advantage of these people while they are destitute
Yes.
and just selling them some shit. And then if it works and it is sold, you go like, well, now you're my fucking army to overthrow the goddamn government and have a fucking fascist coup.
It is.
Who does that remind me of?
Well, it's one of those things. One of the reasons why I
Well, his plan here was not his plan. He was outlining what the plan of the financiers is.
yes.
He's
Yeah,
not
that's
saying,
not his. Yeah, it's not his plan.
I thought he was saying like,
No, he's saying here's what the financiers' plan is and why you should stop them and to replace them with the government.
Right. No. Yeah. He's not saying that he will do that. He's saying this is going to happen.
No, I thought he was saying like,
Oh, I'm sorry.
all right, we gotta fucking like sort this shit out, and then we'll have some people in place to figure this all out. Because when he was in the earlier shit, you were saying you were like, oh, it's up to the government. I'm like, what the fuck? What?
Right. No. So he is saying if we let the financiers control everything, this is what's going to happen.
I see.
And he said the first three had already happened.
Okay, so it is still another doomsday type thing too. Like, here it comes.
Yes, and that was very popular to get people to join the Direct Credit Society. Also, they're already poor, so.
Also, it might have been true enough that maybe that's why FDR acted the way he acted. Like,
well, so there's a whole other thing where, like, Huey Long was against the New Deal because it wasn't progressive enough. And after he's assassinated in 1935, FDR actually takes some of his ideas and puts them into the New Deal.
And then they tried to assassinate him.
Right.
Yeah. They put him in a wheelchair. Can you believe that?
Okay, they got Harold Magneto.
So the Direct Credit Society, and therefore Lawson, is fully funded by members of the society. And around 1936, he starts tossing in some Lawsonomy. So at first he starts out just doing straight economic stuff, right? Because 31 the book comes out, and he does that for a few years, and then he goes, I'm kind of a
Something of an
guy.
economist myself.
I'm something of a Lawson.
And at 36 he starts dropping in these Lawsonomy stuff, and it definitely, when he starts doing that, it cuts into the peak of his membership. But even then, at the same time, by 1940,
it cuts into them like it reduces them.
it reduces the following of the Direct Credit Society.
They see there's whack ideas afoot.
But still, even then, by 1943, he's bringing in $14,000 a month. It's about $243,000 today, a month. In 1940, the membership of the Direct Credit Society, they love him so much, they put together a songbook. As you can imagine, in the Lawson spirit, it's titled Songs That Will Be Sung Forever. And I have a copy here. We'll talk about it on the Patreon. I have the sheet music. I just want to read. I just want to read this. The opening to the song by Paul R. Hayer called "Teach Penetrability."
At home.
Penetrability, Lawson's basic law of movement. I'm not going to sing it because why would I need to? Shifting of matter caused by difference in density. proves one substance will penetrate another by pressure and suction power. And that's the first stanza. And
So easy to sing.
as you can imagine, it's catchy as hell.
Yeah.
And the kids love it.
The penetration, the vulnerability,
And
out of sight.
and people are singing these songs
Forever.
To this day.
Yeah. Because penetrability is still in.
It is.
Is literally.
Yeah, it's inside.
John, you know about that.
Oh, yeah, I'm big into inside.
So at some point I might try to record some of those.
Oh, yeah, we're going to do a full
'Cause
chorus.
They're just, they're great.
Yeah.
They're just great. Around this time in the 1940s, Lawson stops calling himself the Man of Destiny, which he had been calling himself for about 10 years, and instead he calls himself the first knowledgean.
Well, you know, Knowledgean, there's a lot of penetrability out there. But there's a lot of suckitude. And
It's all about the movement, not the motion.
Yeah.
God, I'm back to hating him again.
yeah, I know. It's a real quick turn.
It's really cool.
Because he doesn't really mean well, does he?
I don't know. I don't think he knows what he means.
Yeah, there's that.
I think he knows how to work a crowd.
He certainly does.
Sure.
Everybody says he's incredibly charismatic.
Honestly, those aviation successes, worst thing that ever could happen to these poor suckers.
Yes.
Well, I mean, you got a goddamn spruce moose in the air.
By this time in the early 1940s, he has published 3 more books. Lawsonomy is one, Mentality is the other, and The Almighty is one.
Mentality.
That's good.
And in one of these, he describes, he expands on his idea of mental organisms, or as he calls them, menorgs. I can't believe how many times Aaron has just put his head in his hands.
Embarrassing.
And so menorgs are the agents through whose activities God reveals norms for human conduct and attempts to bring all creatures to the perfection in accord with the divine will.
And that's that men's rights stuff.
Yeah. Right, yeah. It sounds like Scientology a lot.
Well, as Henry writes, menorgs are the point of intersection between Lawson's scientific, moral, and religious teachings.
Yeah.
So he finally synthesizes these various ideas he's written about in these dumb books. And, of course, the first knowledgean is the ultimate menorg.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's the thing when it goes like, listen, I know you've been playing this pinball machine for a long time. And by golly, that fucking ball goes down the fucking thing, no matter what. No matter if you lean on your institutions, your rabbi, your government. What you need is a knowledgean to get in here with a mesh net.
That's right.
And they do that thing. Like they were like, have you considered the fourth institution? And you're like, what, this shit you just made up? And he goes, yeah.
The shit I just made up.
And people go like, I really haven't. And then they're like, can I get a fucking year subscription? It is. I mean, yeah, it is. I mean, very much. I would say Scientology is that too.
Yeah.
It's not this, but it's not that, but it's not
Right.
this, but it's not.
Yeah,
it's
and then like
something
it's a
else.
mixture of all. I mean, the Thetans and a mentorg.
Mm-hmm.
Like giving agency to thoughts, like as if they're living organisms,
Yes.
is kind of like the Thetan thing. You're possessed by ideas and stuff like that. It's kind of
Yeah.
it's cute.
Far more agency, right? But you go like, oh, I'm not being lectured at in church. I'm just going like, oh yeah, this shit does suck. In my life, and this one goes like, maybe it sucks because, you got a psychiatrist, whatever they do inside.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, maybe it is.
So now that he's tied it all together with the menorgs, in 1944 he creates the Des Moines University of Lawsonomy, and buying out some old buildings on the former campus of the Des Moines University. At the corner of 2nd and Euclid in Highland Park, Des Moines, if anyone wants to go on the walking tour.
We got Des Moines fans.
Lawson, he buys these buildings out, and this is the final project of his life, the teaching of Lasonomy to his followers. At this point, he's using this thing he calls the Humanity Benefactor Foundation to finance. All of the money that goes to the Direct Credit Society is taken by the Humanity Benefactor Foundation. And therefore, the Direct Credit Society and Lasonomy, there's no money.
No money.
Yeah.
But the credit's there.
Yeah, that's right.
No, but you're on credit. Like,
Yeah.
Lasonomy's got it, the money.
Yeah.
If you still believe in that.
Yeah, I mean.
And we don't. We believe in direct credits. Or like everybody gets adopted. Like, meanwhile, this guy's trying to butt fuck people in Iowa.
Well, he's not. He's not.
Sodomy.
He's not fucking anybody, as far as we know. He's taking he's
sabbatical.
As far as everybody in the the whole
universe
society, Lasonomy, he has never been in a relationship. Lifelong bachelor.
Not a penetration to his name.
One of his rules is that you do not marry someone until you're 30, and you do not make a child until you're over 30.
Oh.
Those are one of the rules of Lasonomy.
Nice.
But with the announcement of the Des Moines University of Lasonomy, all of a sudden they're bringing in $137,000 a month. That's about $2.2 million today. And they buy these buildings. People move there to live in the buildings and learn Lasonomy and become knowledgeans.
No.
It's a 30-year diploma, but
are you fucking kidding me?
It's a 30-year diploma.
To be a true knowledgean,
you're going to want to keep this up.
Yeah.
You're going to need to go through a second adulthood. Don't worry, we'll live 200 years.
For the low price of 100,000 credits per week.
I love Des Moines.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can we take a break?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we'll be wrapping it up shortly.
All right, I'll be right back, folks. And we're back.
All right, so we're in Des Moines now. Not long after they move in, the residents of Des Moines don't take kindly to them. The group, the campus, the university kept trying to apply for like tax grants and saying like, "Hey, we're a thing of education," and the city would be like, "Can you prove it?" And they'd be like,
you seem culty.
Yeah, and so the whole town felt some weird culty vibes. Also, because everybody who lived there, there's some like they had to be vegetarians, only a vegetarian diet. And that wasn't well received by the newspapers or the people in
or anybody in Iowa
in the 1940s.
Yeah, I guess I'll enjoy corn forever.
Yeah, and so residents they started to kind of like push back, and then one night a bunch of kids.
You're saying they were resisting penetration?
Yeah, and suction. A bunch of kids like stormed the campus and tore up the gardens and drove cars through the lawns and made a mess of things.
Probably greasers or something.
Yeah, playing chicken. And it just wasn't well accepted by the people there. And then there was a schism. I guess it's not a schism if a bunch of people leave. The Direct Credit Society lost a lot of members, and Lasonomy itself lost a lot of members, because in October 1944, Lawson, lifelong bachelor, announced that for a couple of years now, he's been married, and he has a 1-year-old child. In 1944, when he announced this, he was 75 years old, and his wife was 31.
Nice.
Also a member of the Direct Credit Society. I mean, why else would you start not a cult, but to have sex with someone?
I mean, just one person? This guy's failing at a cult.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of true. Good point. Good point.
I mean, it's that's what I'm saying. It's not a cult.
Hey, listen, guys.
It's a society of
How
direct
can it
credits.
be a cult if I have just one wife?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi.
Think about it.
I mean, and you know,
Sure. Is there suction? Is there
My son will bring Lawsonism into the 21st century. He's gonna be one of the baddest motherfuckers of all time.
Lawson's son is his name?
That's the thing too, though, where like I
Lawson's son.
guarantee it was a thing where he was just trading on his sexuality with so many parishioners that he was like, I can't tell you. Like it is like the wife is going like, come on, dude, we've been together for years, and he's going like, but they want to fuck me, and they got so much money. Hide the child.
but for that to be the only child that is known of is
As a 75-year-old.
and yeah, I mean he did that when he was 73 or 74,
As a younger man.
which I guess is I mean I guess that's impressive.
Yeah, he's not a fucking seed racer.
Yes, yes, agreed.
Let's keep going.
Fuck you, dude.
So
seed racer.
through from 46 to 51. No, I mean there's also like when they first moved in, there was a bunch of things. Lawson had this hierarchy of people he called generals and stuff. So that worked for, but they all worked for free. But as the most passionate people, he would say, "Okay, so you're in charge of this stuff. You're in charge." And every final decision ended with him. So if some stranger came on the campus and they wanted to walk through, they had to phone Lawson, and he could be in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And if they couldn't reach him, then so even like anytime like the health inspectors or the fire inspectors wanted to walk through the campus, they couldn't because they wouldn't let them in unless Lawson said so.
Old man Lawson.
And so there's a whole thing, and everybody who lived there, they could only read books proved by him, and they didn't have any money. The money they made was by selling his books in town.
Oh God, what a fucking nightmare.
They had to be vegetarians. They were all financed by Lawsonians who didn't go there. You know, they're working on their third-year diploma. But at least from 46 to 51, they stayed out of town a bunch and didn't interact much, and things were quiet. And then in 52, Lawson gets in trouble. The school, Lawson gets in trouble with the government for purchasing World War II production machines and then selling them at marked up prices.
To who?
Well, people, I mean, it's cheap machines that the government has paid for, and then you buy them at a discount because the government has too many because the war is over. But they're selling them to people who want to make stuff, and it could be any kind of giant sewing machines or giant any sort of giant manufacturing stuff.
Manufacturing shells.
Yeah, and you know it's
Oklahoma.
It's just
The Earth is flat. God damn it! I'll defend it till my dying day.
But it's just a
Look around.
It's clear that the money's not coming in like it used to, because why not add this to your school and make stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And then in 1954, Lawson he dies a mere 115 years before his 200th birthday.
That's it.
He
Almost halfway there.
I think maybe by coming, he had fucked up his equipoise.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was murder. There's no reason.
Well, so here's the thing. According to his theories, external suction and pressure had triumphed over internal
It's
suction
that
and pressure.
31-year-old.
Yeah.
Too much external suction.
Doctors back then called it a heart attack.
Oh, weird.
Which is
Well, that's the point of suction.
yeah. There was too much pressure.
But there should have been suction.
Yeah,
It's a rookie mistake.
and
It just sucked that he was dying.
so eventually
This sucks.
there was a plan to move them out of Des Moines into California, where they wouldn't have to deal. Where all the good cults go is in California, where they wouldn't have to deal with like the housing authority and the rules. They could have these places.
Yeah.
That was the next idea. That never happened. It all quietly dissipated. There would be reunions over the years. There was a series of churches that they had built that remained in a terrible act of irony, the Lawsonomy campus in Wisconsin, which had a big billboard promoting Lawsonomy, was bought by the city in Wisconsin in order to build the Foxconn factories, which were the ultimate scandal of just terrible foreign just regular capitalism, but from foreign investors.
For people that don't know.
From apparently communists. What?
Yeah, so the Chinese company Foxconn made a deal with the state of Wisconsin to
Under pressure from Donald Trump and Scott Walker.
and Scott Walker, the governor at the time, to basically like buy an entire town and locations in Wisconsin in order to build these giant factories, which were going to produce the future of was it like televisions? I don't know, cars?
Probably iPhones.
And it was obvious. Anybody who looked at the deal said this is a bad deal.
Nothing ever happened.
And
Terrible deal.
The town itself paid for these buildings, destroyed them, built these factories, which have never repaid the money the town spent.
Good God Almighty!
And it's a wonderful, terrible irony, considering some of the stuff he preached.
Mm-hmm.
There are some few people left who were part of it and still believe in Lawsonomy.
Mm-hmm. I'm one of them.
And maybe more once they hear the songs we will be singing. And
For all time.
For all time, forever. And
Always.
largely that is the end of Alfred Lawson. He is then forgotten forever, seemingly, in the history of the United States.
Until
Well, now. When people hear this episode
That's right.
of Alfred Lawson, one of the great modern hucksters.
yeah,
It's hard to say he
shyster.
isn't. Yeah. There was something in the book about Reagan, but you know.
Real?
Oh, let's see. Once again, as Henry writes, once again, and upon his death, once again, Lawson had ruined his next great project. The cycle of Lawson remains complete.
Yeah.
He cannot get out of his own way. And dying.
And refuses to live to 200.
Yes. Yeah. And so his final project is destroyed by him, not having the right equipoise.
Incredible.
Yeah.
What a weird.
Like bafflingly obscure.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it seems like it touches on so many things we've heard about in growing up or American life and
particularly with the aviation stuff.
Especially with that, yes.
Because he actually, that was the only thing he like really succeeded in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean...
And then he still threw that away. It was like the only, you want to talk about a credit system.
Yeah.
It's the only credit he had.
Yeah.
It was being like, hey, I got this wacky Wario back here. And there's this British guy that's just a butler, but he's on a pilot. But we're
doing it.
Are we airborne?
Yeah.
Are we airborne or not?
Yeah. Does he have gloves on?
Is Warren G. Harding fucking slamming against the ceiling?
Is he falling around back there?
As we flail around,
Yeah.
And you're like, why would he ever abandon that? That was the greatest grift he ever did. Why would he bail from that?
Because
I don't think he ever wanted to do the work was the real thing.
I think that's exactly it. I mean, when did he follow through on an idea? He had success with his first plane.
He goes pretty far with the ideas.
But he had success with his first plane. What did he do? Did he build more of them? No. He said I'm going to build a bigger plane. It'll be
and the first
with
plane,
a shower.
The first plane, when he was telling us about it, we were going like, oh, well, that's a fucking disaster.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, oh, no, you fucking took it to Chicago and then you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Stick
You know,
with
like,
that.
the fuck are you doing, man?
Yeah, use that to pay for your innovation going forward.
Not only that,
I got bored.
but also all your fucking propaganda machines down on the ground with the printing presses. Who's better to talk about it with you than now? Like you fucking actually are doing it.
I mean, he makes it. Seemingly, he seems to be a good baseball pitcher, and then
until he gets past the second inning.
But he's not good with this one team. Talks his way into the Red Sox. Doesn't have a good, but he could have been good enough to play for other teams. But it's that first glimpse of I was good at this thing, and
what else could I do?
Right, and instead of working hard to be better at the thing, it is going, well, what is the next thing I can do?
I think he also has some kind of thing like
ADD.
No, like I would say the whole time he was fucking just plowing women the whole time. And maybe guys too if he's smart.
If he's smart.
Yeah, but I would say like
they were biplanes.
They were biplanes there. But I think it was only in his 70s when he was like, I don't want to hide this shit anymore. And then also, I probably want to like set up my legacy.
Well,
which is also very cult leader.
Part of the Lawsonomy thing was that the super knowledgeans should they need to better the human race. So
right.
So really, like he could have been making babies way before then, but he wasn't.
Which feels so good.
But also, maybe he's a guy at a party who's like, hey, she's into me, and then like some other lady looks at him, and he's like, she's into me. All right, get out of here, you fucking loser.
Who's not into him? You know?
Yeah.
He's an electrifying character.
Yes, he was. He certainly seemed like it.
Perfect bullshitter.
Absolutely.
And then I think about it at that time where I go like, when we heard about press conference after press conference, me and you were both kind of like rolling our eyes. And then you're like, where the fuck are the journalists being like, this guy was peddling this 10 years ago, and now it's this?
Oh, no. I mean, that was happening. Yeah. That was still happening. It's just...
but people just...
There's no time for that in Des Moines newspaper. Yeah. But eventually, like, the Des Moines, of course, like, the people in Des Moines were like, oh, yeah, they failed again at getting their tax break for being an educational service,
Matt, that was a fantastic profile.
Thought you'd enjoy that. It's such a difference of such a varied,
uniquely American.
Yes, to fail in so many ways and succeed at the same time.
We're so good at this stuff.
It is really the most celebrated American journey. It's like this guy had a big line of bullshit. And he ran it out like the longest diving board in the world.
Yeah.
A
95-foot wingspan.
But also along the way, real shit.
Yeah, I mean, he did, before he died.
All bullshit.
Before he died, he got an award from some aviation, group for being a great promoter of airplanes.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, that was absolutely fantastic. I really appreciate you, doing that. And I'm going to say
for being here.
I'm going to say goodnight. My name is John Fahey.
I'm going to say goodnight. My name is Aaron Pita.
Matt Brousseau.
Good night, everybody. We love you.
Good night.
Starbane's Avenue.